First off, today in New Orleans, you may recall the Superdome as the quote-unquote evacuation of last resort during Hurricane Katrina, where thousands of people sought refuge from the literal perfect storm of climate change, and we'll get to that later infrastructure plan. Well, today it is the site of yet another "Fuck You, New Orleans" get-together, featuring the auctioning off of more than 40 million acres of the Gulf of Mexico to the highest bidders from the oil and gas industries. In protest, the group No New Leases has planned, in true Abby Hoffman style, to surround the Superdome and call for an end to new fossil fuel leases and a focus on renewable energy sources like wind and solar, which on a day like today would be great. Now, this sounds like a tall order anywhere, but in Louisiana, it's way taller. A 2011 study found that oil and gas companies in Louisiana took in 11.6% of the state's total earnings, around $20 billion, making Louisiana's GDP higher than 86 out of 185 countries ranked by the World Bank in 2012. Yeah, that's a lot of jobs and a lot of money, but consider this. Last year, Don Briggs, head of Louisiana Oil and Gas, spoke at the Baton Rouge Press Club, reporting on the industry's downward spiral. It's not a pretty picture. It's probably going to get a lot worse before it gets better. What this translates to is job loss. And in December of last year, Louisiana's economy was reeling from this not-so-pretty picture. And in that same speech in Baton Rouge, Briggs laid out the Louisiana lows that were causing these cuts, including about a 38% cut in oil and natural gas drilling sites between 2014 and 2015. A more than 50% cut in drilling permits, and the plain and simple truth that rig activity in South Louisiana has been in a steady decline for the last 14 years. Now, this points to a hell of a lot of hard work from the activist community, but it also just points to inevitable change. In a 2015 article on the death of fossil fuels, Paul Gilding writes, "It is now becoming clear that we've reached a tipping point where fossil fuels will enter terminal decline, independently of climate policy action. The key drivers are competing energy products of renewables and batteries in a system with electric vehicles will behave as a disruptive technology always does, delivering ever lower prices and ever higher quality in a decades-long period of innovation and deployment, which fossil fuels can't match. This will form a powerful economic force both driving disruption and advocating climate action, undermining the historically dominant political and economic resistance of the fossil fuel companies." In other words, fossil fuels just aren't economically feasible anymore. Think about it. Shell spent millions just trying to get up to the fucking Arctic to drill, only to find that it didn't make any economic sense. The whole advent of fracking came about because we had to get to oil and gas that wasn't easy to get to. We'd already tapped the easy-to-get-to resources. The huge, clunky, dirty, and expensive machine that is the fossil fuel industry is beginning to clash with its best bud, capitalism. And as this clash occurs, the industry will do all that it can to hold on to revenue and relevance, which of course means auctions like the one happening today in New Orleans. It means more bribes to people like Clinton, and it means that we can't hope that the economy and the bought-off politicians kill this industry on their own. Activism has pushed what Gilding calls a dying industry closer to the coffin, and we have to keep pushing. Indeed, we have to ramp up our fight against fossil fuels because we don't have the luxury of time. They're fighting back harder, and we need to stand up not only for green energy, but for the jobs they'll create. We have to counter that favorite line from these toxic minds that like to threaten our economies with revenue and job loss, pointing their sludge-covered fingers at healthcare, education, and saying, "You're going to have to make cuts to those if we go under." No. Fuck you. You go the fuck away, and we might actually need less money for healthcare. Furthermore, the amount of revenue to be made from a green energy-centric system, plus single-payer healthcare, plus free higher education, totally dwarfs anything that can be made from opening up more than 40 million acres of water to environmental devastation. So, if you can't be in New Orleans today, show support online with the 2 hashtags below. You can also visit nonewleases.org and sign the petition calling for no new leases in the Gulf of Mexico. We will share a link to that petition on our Facebook page as well. Now, looking ahead to this weekend, starting on Sunday, Activists will head to bumfuck Nevada in order to, for the second year in a row, shut down Creech Air Force Base, the first U.S. base in the country to carry out illegal, remotely controlled assassinations using the MQ-1 Predator drones. And that was way back in 2005. Since 2009, dozens of activists have been arrested yearly for trespassing on the base while protesting drone strikes. Last year, more than 150 activists joined up to protest at the base, including more than 50 veterans. Protesters successfully disrupted the base, bringing work to a halt for almost an hour, which doesn't sound like a lot of time, but consider how many drone bombings might have happened in that hour. And if you also consider that 90% of victims killed by drones are innocent, I say that an hour is pretty damn significant. And this year, they're headed back and intend on occupying the space between this coming Sunday, the 27th, and the following Saturday, April 2nd. If you can't make it to that desolate space outside of Vegas, support online with the hashtag #ShutDownCreech and join the fight through visiting the Shut Down Creech website at shutdowncreech.blogspot.com. You can also check out the organizations that make up the Shut Down Creech Coalition, which are Code Pink, Veterans for Peace, Nevada Desert Experience, and Voices for Creative Nonviolence.